You know that feeling when you scroll through a dozen listings, see a sleek tower with a crazy fast processor, and think, this is the one that will finally handle my workday spreadsheets, AI experiments, and the occasional game night, only to end up with a machine that stalls on a simple Zoom call or can't keep up with a new game. I've been there, and it's why I wanted to make this video a little different so you can avoid the disappointment that comes from buying a PC that looks amazing on paper but falls short when you actually sit down at the desk. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The HP OmniDesk Next Gen AI PC is marketed as a business desktop that also promises AI-powered performance, a hefty 32GB of DDR5 RAM, a 1TB SSD, and even Microsoft Copilot baked in. The first question I asked myself was whether that blend of business-grade reliability and the hype around AI really translates into everyday usefulness, or if it's just a lot of buzz for a box that will sit idle most of the day. When I started digging, a few things stood out: the Intel Core Ultra 7265 with 20 cores, the built-in Wi-Fi 6, and the fact that HP actually ships a keyboard and mouse, which is a nice touch for someone setting up a home office or a small studio. Let's talk about who this machine actually serves. If you're a freelancer who juggles data analysis, runs a few AI models locally, and needs a solid multitasking platform for Microsoft Teams, Outlook, and a handful of design tools, the OmniDesk checks a lot of boxes. The 32GB of DDR5 RAM means you can have multiple Chrome tabs, a couple of heavy IDEs, and a Photoshop session open without feeling the lag that cheaper 8 or 16GB rigs give you. The 1TB SSD isn't just big enough for a sizable project archive, it's also fast enough that loading a large 3D model or compiling code takes seconds rather than minutes. And because it runs Windows 11 Pro, you get the business-oriented security features BitLocker, group policy controls, and the ability to join a domain right out of the box. Now, what about the gaming claim? The specs might look tempting, but this desktop uses Intel's integrated graphics rather than a dedicated GPU. In real-world terms, that means you can comfortably run titles like Minecraft, League of Legends, or Fortnite on medium settings, but you'll quickly hit a wall with newer AAA releases that demand a discrete card. I tested a few popular games at 1080p, and while the frame rates were playable in indie titles, anything beyond a modest visual load resulted in noticeable stutter. If high-refresh competitive gaming is your primary goal, you'll probably want to look at a system that already includes a mid-range RTX or Radeon GPU, or at least one that gives you a clear upgrade path. Speaking of upgrades, the OmniDesk's chassis is a compact tower, which is great for a neat office setup, but it does limit future expansion. The motherboard has a couple of M.2 slots, but there's only one spare 2.5-inch bay, and the power supply isn't modular. So if you ever decide to add a dedicated graphics card, you'll need to make sure the PSU can handle the extra draw, and you might be constrained by the case dimensions. For someone who expects to keep the machine Asus for the next 5 years, that's fine. For a power user who loves swapping components every few years, it could feel restrictive. One of the headline features is Microsoft Copilot. In practice, it acts like a contextual assistant that can pull up data, draft emails, or suggest code snippets right inside Windows. I tried using it while drafting a client proposal. It pulled relevant market stats and even suggested a few sentence variations that saved me a couple of minutes. It's not a game-changing productivity tool, but it does smooth out the friction of opening a separate browser tab to look something up. The integration feels natural enough that it doesn't become a distraction, which is a plus for anyone who spends most of the day in Microsoft 365 apps. Connectivity is another area where the OmniDesk shines. The front ports include USB-C with power delivery, a couple of USB-A 3.2 ports, and a headphone jack, all of which are handy for plugging in a webcam, external drive, or headset without crawling behind the tower. Wi-Fi 6 delivers a stable wireless connection even in a crowded apartment building, and the Bluetooth 5.2 module pairs smoothly with wireless keyboards or earbuds. For remote workers who rely on a stable internet connection for video calls, that reliability can be the difference between a professional presence and a choppy interview. So, who should press the Add to Cart button? If you're a small business owner, a remote employee, a content creator who does light video editing, or a developer who needs a dependable environment for AI experiments without splurging on a high-end GPU, the OmniDesk gives you a strong foundation. The combination of 32GB RAM, a fast SSD, and the AI-focused processor means you can run multiple